Welcome to 100 Yards of Football this evening. This is our NFL Draft Prospect Special. Today we're going to highlight Quincy Roche, defensive end slash outside linebacker of the University of Miami. So if you like the video today, please come in and share it. I'm your host, Vincent Turner. And joining me always, I consider him one of the lead scouts on any level, college, professional, high school, but preferably the NFL. My man, Mr. Daniel Kelly. He was a scout for 4 years with the New York Jets when Bill Belichick and Bill Parcells was running the show. He has a book called Whatever It Takes. It's one of the best sellers on Amazon. And in 2017, he was one of the last candidates for the general manager job with the Cleveland Browns. So sit back and enjoy as you get ready for this magic carpet ride, because we're going to break down Quincy Roche, University of Miami. How you doing this evening, Mr. Kelly?
I'm doing really well, Mr. Turner. Thank you so much for the awesome introduction. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm blessed. I'm ready to go. Let's talk about Quincy Roche, my man.
Let's talk about him. This is a guy that's said to be about 6'4", 235 on some sites, maybe 6'3", 245. Kind of a high-cut, lean-frame guy. I like him in the right system. This is a player that came over as a transfer from Temple in 2019 to the University of Miami, the Miami Hurricanes, in 2020. Mostly, this is a guy that played in a 43-4-3 defensive set, 4 down linemen, 3 linebackers, and what that means. This is a guy that most of the time he played with his hand in the dirt, opposed to standing up, so he played as a down defensive lineman. He's a guy that has a quick first step, which is vitally important to beat an offensive tackle. He's someone that has quick hands, and he has good hand technique, which is very important. This is something that's very hard sometimes to coach. It can be coached, but he's coming in ready-made with the good hand speed and also the hand technique to beat offensive tackles into the pocket. He's somebody who can bend the edge, and he can get through what I like to call the back door of the pocket, which is the upper framework and the frame of the pocket. He can bend the pocket extremely naturally and extremely well and head into through the back door into the pocket. He's a guy that's not a high motor guy, but he's a guy with an above average motor. He did show also some nice quick area short burst into the pocket to close on the target, being the quarterback. He's a guy that has a real knack, however, I would say, for someone who can slide into those inside gaps. So when he's playing at right defensive end or on the right side, he slides inside. And if you let him run free, as they say in New York, you see I got the New York hat on today. If you let him run free, you know what they say in New York, forget about it. He's going to get to the quarterback if you don't block this guy. He's somebody that has an arsenal of pass rush moves. He wants to get to the quarterback. He's a guy that has enough playing strength that he can bull rush and put the offensive lineman, offensive tackle, what we call in the NFL, on skates and push him right back into the quarterback. He wants to get to the quarterback. That's a big one. Not everybody who plays defense in the National Football League really wants it, wants to get to the quarterback. This guy wants to get to the quarterback. That's something that impressed me as well about him. He's tough. He's a solid tackler. He's somebody that has good instincts. He's also a little bit of a showman. You know, after he got a couple sacks there, he came up as Ezekiel Elliott, in Dallas how that goes, that feed me thing. You're like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. He wants to be fed some more, and that's what he does. There's a little showmanship to him as well. He's a guy, in terms of his motor, there's probably, let me back up for a moment, there's probably a couple things that maybe I'm not as high on about him. There is some tightness, some rigidity in the hips that does show up on film. And again, he's not a super high motor guy. Reminds me of a guy that we had at the Jets when I was there named Eric Abagu, a defensive end in terms of his motor. And I want to circle this and highlight it. In 2019 at Temple, he was a guy that had a big sack production, 13 sacks. Then he, at a small school, you talk all the time, Mr. Turner, about level of competition, maybe a little bit lesser level of competition. But then he transfers to the U down with the Miami Hurricanes in 2020, and he only proceeded to put up 4.5 sacks down there. That's critically important to look at because the level of competition is much higher at the University of Minnesota than perhaps, Miami rather than Temple. Now, the interesting part about those stats, guys, to our listeners, is at Temple in 2019, he had 45 tackles, but in the Hurricanes, he had 49 tackles, I believe, or for total. So his tackle production is about the same both at Temple and Miami. However, his sack production went way down. I think that's somewhat of concern. I look at this guy. To me, he projects. If I'm doing the math on him right, I think you hit on it, early in the show, Mr. Turner. I don't see him as a 43 base right defensive end in the NFL system. I see him more as a 3-4, 34. That means 3 linemen, 4 linebackers, more of a 3-4 outside linebacker. I'm thinking, my instinct, my gut tells me Pittsburgh Steelers. And because the fall off in the sack production, I think in 2020, he becomes a guy, especially as being more of a project and a projection because he plays so often with his hands dirt. Now he's going to be more stand-up linebacker material. I see him sliding down. I think he's going to probably be a steal at this level, but I see him sliding down probably into the 4th, maybe early 5th round. But I think, again, somebody that plays a 3-4 defense is going to steal this guy. Could go as high as the 3rd round in the right situation. But I like him. I like a lot of things he does, and I like the fact he can get to the quarterback. What are your thoughts on Mr. Turner?
Well, like I said, man, you're the guy that does this at a high level. But I'm going to tell you, I'm going to disagree with you a little bit because I like Mr. Roche. If you go back to his career, he's always been a pass rushing demon. His senior year in high school in Maryland had 19 sacks. Now, granted, he played at Temple. I give you this. The competition is no way near it is in the ACC. But I always like a guy that's got production on any level. 26 sacks when he was at Temple, 137 tackles, 6 pass defense. So I look at him going to Miami, that the people in the ACC looking at him, oh, here comes Mr. Roche. This is a guy we got to account for. But he had 4.5 sacks, 4.5 tackles for losses, 2 forced fumbles. But I look at his game film from 2020. Go look at the Pitt game. He was what I call terror in the neighborhood. 7 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, half a sack, fumble recovery. Go look at the game film in South Florida. He was a terror in the neighborhood, 3.5 sacks. And when I look at him, I'm going to give you my grade report. Hands very violent. A. Good run defender. A. High mortar. It's cold here and now, but I still give him a B+. And then when I look at him, great vision along the line of scrimmage. A. But another thing I like about him, he reminds me, he played at Miami this year, correct? He reminds me of the Miami lineman that played in the 90s along with Jerome Brown, the late Jerome Brown. And we know how good he was when he was with the Philadelphia Eagles playing alongside Reggie White. And the guys that's on the line with him back then was a guy named Bill Hawkins, another guy, Greg Marks, another guy, Daniel Stubbs. He puts me in the mind of those players. But if you want to go NFL history level, he reminds me with his size. They said the same thing about him. The guy, matter of fact, is from Metro Atlanta, where I live in there right now. A guy named Robert Mathis out of Alabama A&M. Had a phenomenal career with Indianapolis Colts. Played on the other side of Dwight Freeney. And I think he could get after the passer pretty well. Then I'm going to throw some other names that Mr. Roche reminds me of. Pat Swilling out of Georgia Tech. They played down there with New Orleans in that 3-4 back in the day with Ricky Jackson, Sam Mills, Vaughn Johnson, and then the great Kevin Green. This guy's proven throughout his career he can get to the passer. And to clarify and sum up what I'm going to say this evening, let's go to the Senior Bowl practices. And I'm going to look you in the camera, and I'm going to look at everybody out there. If you got any question about Mr. Roche, go look at that film when he went against Alex Leatherwood, who's projected as a first-round tackle out of University of Alabama that won a national championship this season with Alabama. Go look at the game film practices at the Senior Bowl, and Mr. Roche did this to him. He handled him like hey. This guy's a football player, man. And what I love about him, he can get after the passer. And I like Mr. Roche out of the U. Final words, Mr. Kelly.
There you go. There you go. I love it. See, this is the kind of stuff that happens in NFL war rooms because there's a respectful disagreement sometimes. We'll talk it out, and then we go down a film at that Senior Bowl, and we talk it out even more. It's interesting. You talk about, you make a lot of good points. He's definitely a football player. I think, again, in the right system, he's a great value pick. And it'll be interesting to see how his career develops and what happens. And you were talking about that neighborhood. You kept talking about that neighborhood. You know, it reminds me of Mr. Rogers. Instead of Mr. Rogers, it's Mr. Roche. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. That's right. That's right. It reminds me of right there. That's Mr. Roche. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. So, yeah, it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be interesting. He's definitely going to be going to some team that plays at 34. I really do believe that.
My final words about Quincy Roche. Mr. Kelly, you know how this game is coming. It's a passing game in the National Football League, and we need people that can get after the passer. This young man, I know everybody's questioning his size. Put 20 more pounds on him. I think it's going to be a terror in the right system, as you said, at 3-4. But I like Mr. Roche, and as the great Isley brothers say, climbing up the ladder. I wouldn't be surprised Mr. Roche is going to be climbing up the ladder in the 2021 NFL Draft. If you like the video today, please comment and share it. We are 100 Yards of Football. I'm Vincent Turner, and joining me is the very talented Daniel Kelly, former NFL scout with the New York Jets, bestseller, whatever it takes, on Amazon, and the last candidate, one of the last candidates to get that Cleveland Browns GM job in 2017. So y'all have a blessed weekend. We enjoy doing these videos every week, and God bless. We are 100 Yards of Football. Have a great evening.
Have a great evening. God bless you.